Good morning, algebra students. We're going to, hopefully at this point you guys have checked your graphing inequality worksheet from Monday, and I'm going to walk you through the process of graphing a system of inequalities. Really, it's just about keeping track of where the shading is so that you can see the overlap, and then we can go through and identify a final answer. So my first example is a system of linear inequalities, and my second one is a combination of linear and quadratic here, which is one of the inequalities you actually had for homework. So we're going to start with the first one. I'm going to graph the two inequalities. I'm going to start, let's see, I'll do this in two different colors. I'll start with this inequality first. I know that it's going to be a dashed line because it's just greater than. I've got a y-intercept at -4, and I've got a slope of 3, which is the same as 3/1. It's a rise of 3 and a run of 1. So I go to graph that line. I put a point at -4. I move up 3 over 1. Up 3 over 1. I'll put a few points on there, and then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to make this a dashed line. Let's adjust that just a little bit better. I'm going to make this a dashed line through those points. That is my boundary line. Putting arrows on the two ends. Then I'm going to decide by testing. I'm going to test 0, 0, and I'm going to see if 0, 0 is is part of the solution set. So I would have 0 is greater than 3 times 0 is 0. 0 is greater than -4. This is a true statement. 0 is greater than -4. So if the point is right here, I need to be shading. I want to shade above that line, or to this side of the line, the side where 0, 0 is. I'm going to shade all of that. I'm going to stick with the color blue for that inequality. All right, so not yet the solution, but definitely gives me an indication of where some of my points for the solution will lie. So I go to the second inequality. This one's going to be a solid line because it's less than or equal to. I have a y-intercept at 5, and I have a slope of -2/1, so it's down 2 and over 1. I'm going to graph that. So I go to 5 and put my point in there. Hopefully you can see that green okay. And then I'm going to go down 2 and over 1. Down 2 and over 1, down 2 over 1. I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to draw in a solid line. And then I'm going to determine which side of my green line I want to shade on. Again, I'm going to test 0, 0. So I would get 0 is less than or equal to -2 times 0 plus 5. This again, so 0 is less than 5. This is a true statement. Since 0, 0 is right here, I want to shade on that side. But this time, I'm going to shade strictly in the areas where it's blue. Actually, for this first example, we'll go ahead and shade all of this, but then I'm going to indicate for you that what we're looking at for our solution set is truly, and I'm going to pull even a third color in here, is just this area here where the blue and the green overlap. So if we were doing this with a pencil back at school, this would be a point where I would tell you to go back and you want to erase this shading in there, and you want to erase this shading in that area. And so you end up with, let's go back to where the yellow is, you go back to this region is where the overlap was. This region is where the overlap was. So that is our final solution set. It's the overlap of blue and green. I can go back and show you again. So we had the blue and the green overlapping in that area, and then I went in and I highlighted it in yellow. This region indicates our solution to the system. And you can see that the lines separate our grid this time. Instead of just into two halves of a plane, it's four different sections. So if we called this like section 1, we would say this is our solution set. And then you've got three other areas, three other regions where it may partly make your system true or not at all. So like section 3 doesn't make it at all true. Section 2 only is true for the blue inequality, and 4 is only true for the green inequality. So that's it. That's a system of linear inequalities. So we're going to go through that same process. We're going to go through it for the system of a linear inequality and a quadratic. So I'll start with, again, let's color code this. Actually, let's use the marker pen. I'm going to go with this first in blue. It is a solid line. These are always things I just jot down for myself. My y-intercept is at 1. My slope is at 2, and I'll make that 2 over 1 so I know it's a rise over run. I'm going to graph it. I put my y-intercept at 1. I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Get my ruler. Draw in a solid line. Again, 0, 0 is not part of my line. I went kind of far on that. That's all right. So if 0, 0 is not on the boundary, 0, 0 is absolutely the best point to test because it is just so easy. 0 is less than 1, so my shading will need to be where 0, 0 is, not the opposite side. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lightly shade this region here. And I'm going to change my color to green for my inequality. This was the same inequality, had a vertex of 0 and a y-intercept of 0, -4. You could factor that into x plus 2, x minus 2, so -2, 0, 2, 0 are the x-intercepts. And then I think what I did on the answer key is that I just figured, well, if I put 1 in, 1 minus 4 is 3. So I'd be at -3. Sorry, 1 minus 4 is -3. I think I put 3 in. 9 minus 4 is 5. I just gave myself a few extra points to help guide. It is also solid due to that inequality sign. So I'm going to draw in as neatly as I can my solid parabola. Like that. I'm going to test 0, 0. So 0 is greater than or equal to -4. This is true. So my shading for this will also be, I'm going to go ahead and shade it all in green so you guys see it. It would be in the interior of the parabola. But again, we are, and I'm going to go over now, I'm going to go over my solution set. We're looking for the overlap of these two regions. So the final solution would actually be this part of the parabola, this part of the line, and then let's go ahead and shade this in kind of dark. This area right here, if we wanted to be technical, those are the points that are in our solution set. So again, you're just looking for the overlap. All right, you have a worksheet that has, I believe, 4 of these problems to do. I would highly recommend using some multiple colors in your graphing, or at least try and use some different patterns, maybe a pen and a pencil. It's helpful when you do these problems. And I will talk to you again soon.